Never forget that hard work does not produce results. Progression and better work produces results, because it's entirely possible, in fact highly likely, that you can work your ass off to the max for years and still not really make any gains whatsoever. I've certainly done it, and sadly, that may be the fate a lot of people are facing. But that doesn't need to be the case, because there are many ways you can make progress in your workouts. That's because we're talking today about progression strategies. There's many ways that you can add on to the demand that your body is facing, and some strategies are more applicable for your goals than for others. Fundamentally, you only progress one of three ways. You either have more tension in your muscles, aka generating more strength. You have roughly that same amount of tension for more time, so you're building on your muscular endurance, or you're improving the proficiency of what you're doing. So things like technique or some performance aspect like power and explosiveness. And each of these progression strategies focus on one of these things. So first off, just trying to do more repetitions in a single set. Very common in the calisthenics community of like how many pull-ups or push-ups can you do. This is focusing on the endurance side of things. It's trying to burn out the muscle and increasing your numbers, which is very applicable if your goals are, I need to do more in order to pass something like a PT test, or you're just having a push-up contest with friends. My backfilling strategy for grind style calisthenics is another prime example of this type of progression strategy, where you have 3 or 4 sets. You do as many repetitions in each set as you can, and then in order to progress in subsequent workouts, you don't try to do more repetitions in the first set or even the second set, but the latter sets effectively, quote, backfilling all of the latter sets until they're all even, and then you can increase your weight or increase the repetitions you're doing in the first set all over again. Another classic time strategy is to just do more total work in general. This one's a lot more freestyle, and I know a lot of people like this if they have a bit more of a playful nature with their workouts. They don't like being these super strict robotic type workout programs. They'll say something like, I'm going to do a total of 100 pull-ups or 50 squats or what have you, and they'll just kind of mix and match and go along with how they feel for the day. But if they're getting a total amount of volume increasing, so they go from doing 50 squats to 60 squats, then they know they're getting more total work. On the tension and strength side of things, this type of progression strategy is usually focusing on increasing resistance, and you may be increasing your repetitions, but maybe not all that much. For example, if you really want to prioritize building strength, you wouldn't start off with a heavy weight that you can lift 10 times and not increase the weight until you can do it 15, 20, or 30 times. You might start with something that's a lot heavier, something you can lift like 5 times, and then increase weight once you built it up to about 8 repetitions or so. You're going to be increasing the resistance a lot more frequently, so that way you stay much closer to the strength end of the strength to endurance spectrum, and you're focusing on the progression of how much tension is in the muscle as opposed to kind of going into more of an endurance side and then strength after a while. Progressing primarily resistance can also be really good for those disciplines where you can change the resistance either mid-set or even mid-rep. Like with progressive calisthenics, for example, you may always have relatively the same number of reps, like 5x5. Always doing 5x5, never adding reps at all, but you would add resistance, like having more weight on one arm for like a commando pull-up. Overcoming isometrics is also a classic way to make this work, because you're always theoretically working at the max level of tension you can produce in your muscles, and letting your muscles just fulfill their maximum work capacity every single time. And then when it comes to technical progression strategies, these are ones where you're going to keep your volume and your resistance relatively about the same, and you're always focusing on improving some aspect of your proficiency, like speed, range of motion, body position, something about how you're doing the activity. One of the most common ways of doing this is you, again, have a set amount of work. Say, for example, you're going to have 100 free throws, or you're going to practice handstands for 10 minutes, and then you just do it to whatever capacity you can that your time and your energy will allow for that day, but you're staying focused on improving the proficiency and having something specific that you're working on instead. Another way that you can practice your proficiency is to challenge both resistance and volume and see how well your proficiency holds up against those greater challenges. For example, you could say, I'm going to do 100 push-ups. And you could do it however order you like, but you notice that, oh boy, when I'm getting tired, that my shoulders start hunching up, my back starts sagging. And you're purposely going to a level where you're breaking your technique slightly, and you're making notes about what's breaking down. And then what you're trying to do is have that technique break down in that way later with the amount of volume. You could do the same thing with adding resistance as well. So you could have the perfect bicep curls when you're curling 20 pounds, and then you go to 25 pounds and 30 and 40, but you're trying to fight that technical erosion, therefore improving your technical proficiency. You don't need to progress or do your workouts one specific way or else nothing else is going to work. But check out these micro workouts for ways to apply these progression strategies, and let me know if you have any further ideas to share with the RDP community down below. Like and share, and thank you very much for watching. Be fit and live free.